So welcome to part 5 of our library management system. So we're done with our header files. Now let's look at the implementation files. We start off with the library item. So we go into File, New, File, CPP, C++ Source, and then click on Go. Next. We're going to call this one the library item. Library item. And select all. Okay, here we remember save it in our project, in our library management system. Click on save. Okay, I want to replace it, and then finish. So this is our library item.cpp. It is the implementation file for the library item base class. This file contains the actual code for the methods declared in library item header file, which we did in part 1. So we start off with include. Okay, just yes. Include the library. We're going to include the library item header file. This library item .h, which is a class declaration we did in part 1. Now let's look at the constructors for the library item. The purpose of the constructor is create a new library item object or part of a book or magazine object. The parameters all passed by constant reference for efficiency. As you see, we'll use the ampersand sign. So okay, the title of the item, which is the book or magazine. We're going to have the name of the author who created or wrote this item. We're going to have a unique identifier for this item. Then we'll have the initializer list, which is the parts after the semicolon. So after the colon, we'll use a colon for the initializer list. So it's also going to have a title. It's going to set title member variable to the title parameter. Also, the author is going to set the author member to the other parameters. The ID to set the ID member to the ID parameters. We also have another Boolean variable called is borrowed. We will just initially set it to false, which means that the book will be available. So it's not borrowed, so it's going to be initially false, but then the alternative will be true, which is borrowed. So why do we have to use an initializer list? It is efficient than assigning inside the curly bracket. It also allows initializing const members and references. But then there is something we should note. This constructor is called automatically when a book or magazine is created, because the book and magazine inherit from the library item. So let's move on to the entry. So we're going to have the library item, and then for our list, we're going to set it going to be const std string reference. Start off with the title of the book, const std string reference author, const std string reference ID. We have the title, we have the author, we have the ID. Okay, let me just write on a new line. Instead of going to use a colon, the initialize is title, and it's author, order ID is borrowed. We said we will initialize it to 0. It's going to false. Is borrowed. Did I put an extra? Oh, I guess should have been here. Is borrowed. Okay, let's say here. I'm just removing these round brackets. Yes, perfect. Now let's have our curly brackets. So now we'll move on to our getter methods. So the getter method does provide a read-only access to private member variables. This is part of encapsulation. It's controlling access to internal data. The const at the end promises these methods won't modify the object. So our first getter is going to be the get title. The purpose it returns the title of the library item, and then it's also going to return a copy of the title string. So we're going to have, let me move on to line 7, and std string library item. So we're going to have a get title. It's a method, so we must remember to put round brackets const. So we said this is a method, so it will return the title of the book, of the object, could be the book or magazine. So it's simply return the private title variable. Okay, our next getter method is going to be the get order. So the purpose of this get order method is returns the order or creator of the library item, and then it returns a copy of the order string. So it's going to be, wait, supposed to have curly bracket. Okay, yeah. So now we said our next getter is going to be std string library item. It's a get order. It's a get order method. We said we're going to make it in a const to make sure it doesn't get modified. So it will return. So it's going to return the order of the object. I think I spelled it right. So it returns the private order variable. We also have another getter called the get ID. The purpose of this next getter, it returns the unique identifier of the library item. It returns the copy of the ID string. So it's std string library item library item is the get ID. So method, it's a const as we have discussed earlier. So it's going to return the ID. So it returns the private ID variable. Then we said we're also going to have another getter called is borrowed. Okay, let's call it the get borrowed status. The purpose, it returns whether the item is currently borrowed or available. It returns true if borrowed, false if available. So since it only has two outcomes, it's a Boolean method, so it's going to be bool library item get borrowed status. We want to know whether the object is borrowed or not. Status, and it's okay into function const. So it should be using curly brackets here. So it will return. It's going to return the is borrowed. So it returns the private Boolean status whether the book is available or the magazine is available or is borrowed. Now let's look at our setter methods on line 19. So the setter method, they provide a right access to private member variables. They allow changing the object state after it's been created. So the first one I'm going to have is we're going to have the set title. So the purpose of the set title, change the title of the library item. As you know, in a library there could be hundreds of books. So in our system, in our management system, we want to know the different titles of the book. You couldn't have just have one magazine or one book. So it changes the title of the library item. The parameter we'll use is the title, the new title to assign, and this is going to be passed by a constant reference. We'll also have a pointer called this pointer. The reason for this pointer, just using the word title by itself refers to the parameter, which is the new value, but this title refers to the member variable or the stored value. This pointer, because you see the sign, so but what it's called it, this pointer, it's going to point to the current object. So we're going to have a void. Well, let me just write comment here and call it on setter so you can see what's happening. Here at the top we had getters. Here we had getters. But these are just comments. You can skip them if you want. Okay, so we're going to have an non-returning function which is a void library item set title into const std string it's a reference title. So we said we're going to have this we call it this pointer. So it's this title, then we're going to assign it title. So what line 24 does, it assigns parameter to member variables. So let's remember to close so for our next setup, we'll have a set order method. With the set order, it's going to change the order of the library item. The parameter we're going to use is order, the new order name to which is going to be the new order name to assign. So it's a void, and then returning, so it's void from the library item set order. It's a set order method. So our parameters is the const std reference string with order So now in our function, we again have the this or pointer. We are going to assign it again the parameter of order. So it assigns this parameter to new member variable. That's what len27. The purpose of len27. Let me just put a space here. And also, so you can see clearly. Okay, next we're going to have the set ID or our set ID. The purpose, it changes the unique identifier of the labeled item. The parameter we're going to use is ID, which is the new ID to assign. Okay, now it's just a small warning. Changing ID after creation could cause issues with search and file storage, so we must use this method very, very carefully. So it's going to be a void library item. I'm going to set the ID. It's a method, so it's going to be a const std string ID. So now we have our setter. It's good. Again, we have this pointer ID. Then we assign it the parameter ID. So we assign this ID to the new member variable. Our next setter is the set borrow status. Okay, the purpose of this next setter, it changes the borrowed status of the library item. And then for parameters, the status is true if borrowed, and then false if the object is available. This is called the borrowed item method, and it's going to return the item. But then something we're going to notice is that we will not have this pointer in this next method. And the reason for this is because the parameter name status is different from member variable is borrowed. So we're going to have a void library item set borrowed status, and then it's a boolean for the status, whether it's true or false. And for our parameters, we're going to have is borrowed, and then we assign it to status. So we assign it the parameter in member variable. So guys, this is the end of our part 5 for our library management system, the implementation file for the library item. So please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Then now go and watch part 6 as we work on more implementation files. Thank you, bye.